Good evening. I hope you can hear me and see me well, and I hope you can see what I'm sharing. You have come to the Mathematical Sciences Digital Open Evening 2024 for the University of Leicester. And so before we get into talking about the course here and the different programs that we have on offer, let me just tell you something a little bit about myself. So my name is Dr. Josh Cork. I am a lecturer here at the university in mathematics, but I'm also the admissions tutor and outreach tutor in mathematics. So that means I'm in prime position to tell you all about what it's like to apply here, but also what the role is like and what mathematics is like as well. But beyond that, so you may be used to at school, you know, you have math teachers, you might have various different teachers in different sorts of subjects. One of the things that separates a university from a school is that those who are teaching you typically are also researchers or kind of professionals relevant to what they are teaching. So in my particular discipline, I research in geometry and mathematical physics. And that feeds into my teaching. So, for example, I teach a year one pure maths module, but I also teach specialist modules in the final year relating to my research area in geometry and topology. And so there's a little picture there of something that's related to my research. And if you're really interested, you can ask about it. So a little breakdown of the presentation today. So first of all, I'm going to tell you a bit about the University of Leicester. But then I'm also going to tell you what you're here for, specifically the subject you're interested in, why you should choose mathematics at Leicester. So we have different degree programs, so I'll break those down. And then I'll give you an overview of how we at Leicester approach learning and teaching. And as I mentioned already, embedded as part of our university ethos is that we are research and industry led. And so how does our research and industry expertise relate to your degree that you are choosing? And how then also are we supporting you in your time being a student? And following on from that, I'll say some words about your career and employability prospects, having taken a maths degree and also at Leicester. And then a few remarks about how you can apply, what the entry requirements are, etc. After my presentation, hopefully I won't speak for too long, I will hand over to some of our students who are going to give a testimony of their experience here as mathematics students. So if at any point you think of a question, there is a Q&A which you can hopefully see, and you can type your question into the Q&A. So why the University of Leicester? So the University of Leicester is an established university. We're founded in the 1920s, in fact in 1921. So we recently celebrated our 100-year anniversary. And the university was founded as a living memorial to the First World War. And in particular, one of the things that we have a deep culture here. So there's lots of things, there's a rich history of the university. But one of the things I really want to mention about this, why I'm telling you that we have this, is that we have been here for a very long time. So therefore we have a large cohort of alumni. So many people have studied here, many people have been here. This means that we have a large reach across the world, in fact, of people who have either studied or worked at the University of Leicester or have some sort of relationship with the University of Leicester. And over the years, we have developed in different ways, and we are very proud to say that this year we have been both awarded University of the Year in one place, but also twice shortlisted as University of the Year by two other higher education commentators and newspapers. And so this is a really great honour, of course. But on top of this award and these nominations and shortlistings, we have achieved the highest possible ranking in the Teaching Excellence Framework, which is a gold ranking for our teaching at the university. And it's worth remarking that we are, in fact, one of only 9 universities in the country which is simultaneously rated gold in teaching and also has a top 30 rating in research. Like I said, our teaching is intertwined with the research that we do. So we are established, but we're also have been told by many people around us, and our students in particular also say that we are a top university. And this last point here is really crucial, that our students are very important to us, and what our students say really matter. And our students also believe that we have excellent teaching, and that there's overall positivity of our programs, and our university is rated highly among our students. And another small thing that's worth mentioning is we guarantee accommodation for all first-year students, and this starts, for example, at £69 per week with all bills included. And personally, I think that's very good value for all bills included accommodation. Leicester itself as a city is a very affordable city. I think some people have potentially said it's one of the most affordable cities to be a student, or even to live generally, in the country. And while we have different accommodations around the city, not all of them are right next to the university campus, but we do have a free shuttle bus service which allows students to get from wherever they live to the university in order to attend classes. So that's enough about general broad things about the university. Hopefully the reason you have come to this talk is because you are interested in studying mathematics, or some manifestation of mathematics at university. So what can we offer you at Leicester in mathematics? So as an established university, we have established mathematics programs, and so our degree programs have been designed over many decades to give you an oversight of the deep and beautiful subject that is mathematics, both its historical origins. So mathematics is probably one of the most ancient subjects in the world, and many of the things you learn at university have been studied for centuries and have been enhanced and understood at a deeper level over those centuries. But one of the things I think is most beautiful about mathematics is that it is a foundational subject, and what is true today will continue to be true for centuries, and has been true for centuries. And one of the great things about studying mathematics is that you are laying a lasting foundation by studying an abstract but also a core subject that is not simply learning some technology that's going to die out in 10 years. You're learning something that is always going to be true and always going to be relevant. But at the same time, we recognize that you need to develop not just an abstract academic knowledge, but develop transferable skills that are relevant for whatever industry or career that you are planning to go into when you graduate. So this is how we've designed our degrees. We are rigorous in our approach, but we have two parallel degree programs. So we have the basic, what I would call mathematics degree programs, which are the BSc or MMath in mathematics. So these are the most flexible, with the most variety of options in pure, applied maths, statistics. There's all sorts of options, and you'll see in a moment I'm going to go through a bit of that. But we also have another program stream, which is the BSc or MMath in mathematics and actuarial science. Now, some of you here might know what that is, but some of you may not know what that is. We have one of our students from the actuarial science program who could tell us about that a bit. I'm not an actuarial science expert myself. However, the simplest explanation is that actuarial science is the study of kind of quantifying risk. Some people might describe it as a bit like being an accountant for the future. That you're trying to understand risks and finance associated with what might happen in the future. And one of the great things about our course in actuarial science is that it is accredited by the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries, and this allows it to offer exemptions from core principles and practice exams. Now, what does that mean? In order to qualify as an actuary, so this is a profession, you have to take a set of qualifications, and some of these require various exams called the core principles and practice exams. And by taking our degree, you do not have to take a certain subset of those exams. if you have taken the accredited modules. And in fact, some of these modules are also offered on the Mathematics BSc and Math programs. And both of these offer year in industry and year abroad options, so there's a variety of options. Having said about options, let me tell you about your first year. So we are flexible we have a large faculty, we're able to offer a lot of options, but at the same time we are rigorous, and we realize that it's important that everybody has a solid foundation in the subject in order to pursue applications or directions of your own particular choosing. You need to have a solid foundation in mathematics, and so that requires a large core syllabus in the first year. So there are 4 main topics or 4 main core modules that you study in the first year. So these are calculus and analysis, which are you've probably learnt in A-level the theory of differentiation, integration, how to solve integrals or find derivatives, and you might be aware of things to do with limits and that. So this is the subject behind this, but it goes deeper than you might have studied at A-level, where you are asking questions like, well, what does the derivative mean, and when can a function be differentiated, and when can a function be integrated, etc., like that. And then there's another side of the core syllabus which is called linear algebra, and this is a topic which some people who've taken further maths might be familiar with in some sense, which is to do with matrices and vectors, but again it is abstracting that and making it deeper, looking at more general ideas than those ideas that you may have studied if you've studied further maths. And we also have a probability and statistics module in the second semester. And new this year, we're also introducing a module which is not listed here, which is kind of parallel to your induction, which is essentially a problem-solving module, because at its core, mathematics is teaching you how to become a problem solver and how to think abstractly and logically about how to solve problems. Alongside that, everybody has 1 optional module in the first semester and 1 optional in the second semester. I don't want to go into the details of them. There are several different options available. If you're on the actuarial science program, on the other hand, you must take the micro and macroeconomics modules. But we do offer modules which go deeper into pure mathematics, so number theory and this sets, relations and groups module, which is one that I teach, and there are also programming options. And because of the fact that it's a core syllabus in the first year, which is relatively similar across both of the programs, this allows the possibility to transfer programs up to the end of year 1. However, in most cases, people have usually decided if they want to transfer by about this time of year, actually. So, for example, I had one student recently say they wanted to change from actuarial science to Maths BSc, and it is perfectly reasonable to do that. Once you've got a flavour, perhaps you decide, actually, I enjoy this side of maths more than the other, and it happens the other way around as well. But once you've finished first year, things become significantly more broad. Okay, so this is really a framework. This is not necessarily a prescription, but typically what we say is, there are different areas of mathematics you may want to explore. And here is a framework for saying, well, if you really like pure mathematics, these are the sorts of modules that you have on offer in years 2, 3 and 4, or maybe 2 and 3 or 4 if you're doing the M version of them, which I'll tell you about in a moment. But there's also applied mathematics modules, probability and statistics modules. You can take options in actuarial sciences if you are on the BSc, but not all of them. There are some modules that are very specialist and only available on the actuarial science program, and programming modules, and also modules which are much more focused around business or applications of mathematics in industry, including a mathematics teaching module called Communicating Mathematics. And so the idea behind this slide is really just to illustrate that you have lots of options, and we try to kind of make it clear that there are different pathways you can take and how to direct yourself through the degree program. Now, I've mentioned this year 4. Perhaps you hadn't been up to this point, but perhaps you are considering taking 4 years. So this is known as the integrated master's degree, so the MMath in this case. What they do is they add a 4th year to degree, and the headline really is it's the most affordable and efficient way to obtain a master's degree. So the MMath mathematics, for example, what you do is you're taking another year. So all of our final year modules in mathematics, they have a 3-year or a third year or a 4th year version. The 4th year version is essentially the same topic, but they have an extension, like maybe a reading project or something, which makes it more related to MMath. And then there's an extended project, which might expose you to more advanced research level mathematics. And this is really ideal for those of you who are interested in going into perhaps postgraduate research, so PhD, or even industry research. So, for example, wanting to go into perhaps a more a job which requires you to use mathematics that you've learned at university in your career. And at the same time, we also have the MMath Maths and Actuarial Science, and we're really proud of this degree. This is a new degree that we are offering at this stage, which has introduced 3 more modules which offer further exemptions. And we are currently the only university globally which offers this many exemptions from the IFOA examinations on undergraduate funding. Okay, so there are exemptions available if you take this as a postgraduate master's, but bear in mind this is an integrated master's, so it's on undergraduate funding, which is significantly more affordable. And so the idea here is that it allows you to learn deeper skills and use these in real life scenarios, managing risks, etc. And one of the important points here is that it leads to a potential reduction of 4 years to qualify as an actuary. Okay, so this is quite a significant thing, because an actuary often needs a degree, but then they'll have to take all these extra years and extra exams. Having done this program, you will save yourself time and money. And again, one thing that I should mention here is that you can transfer, like with the programs of actuarial science to mathematics, or the other way around, you can transfer to the MMath up to the end of your 3rd year. On top of that, you may want to add a 4th year or even a 5th year by taking a year out. So between your 2nd and 3rd year of whatever program you're on, whether it's the BSc or the MMath, you could take a year in industry, or you could study abroad. And the simple story here, I don't want to go into too much of the detail here, you can read the slide, is that the option of taking a year in industry allows you to take an opportunity to go into a workplace and decide, this is what it's like to work in this particular industry. And it may be that you then just make connections with that industry, and that could be something that becomes your graduate job. Or, as a student of mine found out, they realized that was exactly what they did not want to do, and it was a good learning process. They still were able to mature in the process, but at the same time they recognized, I don't want to go into that career. And similarly with the study abroad, this is something that I personally think it's an excellent experience to go and spend time abroad as a student or otherwise. It allows you to broaden your horizons, meet different types of people. And many of the students who have gone on years in industry or study abroad, they come back remarkably changed and typically do very well after having done this. They've kind of matured and become better students in the process. So when you are here, how do we approach learning and teaching? We recognise that school is very supportive in the sense that a lot of it is very in the classroom. You sit down and your teacher gives you a problem or an idea, and eventually by the end of the class you've hopefully learned how to do it. One of the differences there is that university is so much more about guided and independent study. So you'll have several lectures in a week where you learn some theory, and many of those lectures, the intention is that you aren't supposed to understand it immediately. You are supposed to go away and chew on that understanding and try your own work and try to understand it yourself. And actually you need to spend significantly more time outside of lectures and class understanding mathematics, and this applies to all subjects at university. And we recognise that this is, of course, a challenge for many students, so we do support you in your transition by having drop-ins. We've opened up a drop-in session where we have PhD students who sit and go through things for you. We've got peer-assisted learning, careers drop-ins, employability is also embedded into the curriculum, and that in particular then leads you from university to industry. We have a lot of support in first year. We have computer classes where we teach you different programming languages and different aspects of how to use computers in your studies. Weekly tutorials. We've introduced this new problem solving module and transition from school basic skills that you should be understanding from A-level into what you're expected to do in further in your degree. As you move further through your degree, there is a bit of support through second year, but as you go further on, the idea is we want you to develop into independent learners. We want you to develop into people who are able to learn for yourself and dictate how you are going to study. And so naturally, part of that is to relinquish a little bit of that support and release you to be more independent. But at the same time, we have a variety of ways that we do this. So, for example, that could be that we have quite naturally, there's a lot of different types of exams in mathematics, how we assess you, but also we could include more group work where you're given a project to work on with a group, or mini projects that you do individually. And this is the idea, is to make it more accessible to a diverse learning style and help you to grow transferable skills. And finally, one of the things we're really quite pleased of here is how we have flexible final year project options. So on the maths programme, we have two types of projects you take in the third year. You either will take a research project, which is much more about learning an advanced topic in mathematics and communicating it. But the other one is to work with a local business or industry to solve a real world problem. So, for example, one of the projects that I think ran last year was designing a chatbot to help people to understand and GCSE maths problems and kind of help them to teach them and things like that. And I think there was another one to do with optimizing some particular industry. So these are real world problems that local businesses work with the students to go through. And similarly, there's the actuarial project, which again is related to the actuarial industry, and they may often work with local actuary firms. And why can we do this? Why can we offer so many different projects? And that's because we are a university of researchers. So our department is made up of experts from the field. We have academic staff engaged in world-leading mathematics research in a variety of topics, from computational modelling in science and engineering, data science, geometry, mathematical physics, number theory, algebra, and also AI, scientific computing, and also many of the people in our actuarial science programme, they are qualified actuaries who have worked in industry for many years and have moved into education later on in their career. So the bottom line there is that the curriculum and our projects and everything that we are teaching you is inspired by our research and industry practice. A couple words about other support. So there's a personal tutor system. Everyone is assigned an individual academic who essentially comes alongside them as a pastoral support and gives them have their small group meetings, regular check-ins to see how they're doing. But we also have student societies. We have representatives from student societies going to say something today. So there's two societies. There's the Math Society and there's also the Actuarial Science Society. And they do various events like social events, but also invite speakers from places to engage you in the subject and career opportunities. And more widely, there is a student learning community. And there's also the opportunity on the NMath, if you're in the final year, to actually get involved in some teaching. So, for example, leading tutorials for first years. We also have excellent career and employability prospects. As I mentioned right at the beginning, we have a large network of alumni. We have a global network of 200,000 alumni. This leads to a diverse range of employer partners, large range of different employers and different companies and different industries. And we have an excellent award-winning careers service, and our department has a dedicated employability advisor. And some of the modules are actually specifically designed with employability in mind, such as the industry research module, etc. And we're really proud to say that actually this has been not just recognised as a good thing, but it pays off in that 94% of our mathematics graduates are employed within 15 months of graduating. And 94% is a very large number. It's so large that, in fact, it means we are joint first in the UK for employability in maths as a university. So we're really proud about this this statistic, which is that all of the efforts that we make to help our students to learn transferable skills and seek employability is paying off. And well, you might then wonder, well, where does a maths degree take you? And the simple answer is almost anywhere. I've mentioned some simple careers, some of the careers that you might think of, like teaching and academic research or actuaries and finance, but there are all sorts of things. You can become a scientist. I have a friend who I did my degree with who works on wind farms. And, you know, maths is everywhere. And the point here is maths is everywhere. It's in every industry, it's in every career, but that's also because the skills you learn as a mathematician are so desirable. To think abstractly and strategically in order to communicate and think creatively. Being a mathematician is about making the difficult simple and learning how to solve problems, and often that requires creativity and leadership and teamwork and all these other transferable skills that employers desire. And to give an impression of where some of our students have gone after graduating, here's some of the companies and firms that they have ended up going to, and a kind of spectrum of the different industries and types of employers that have taken graduates from Leicester. And it's worth saying that because of this relationship we have with a lot of industries, there are some companies that actually, when they are seeking graduates, they come to Leicester first and ask us about people to apply to them first before they open to other places or invite other people to apply. So they in some sense we let people have a foot in the door because we have this relationship with many other companies, many of the companies that you see on the screen, for example. So, having said all that, hopefully I've convinced you that you want to apply. I'm sure you have many questions. This is how you apply. The simplest way is to apply through UCAS. And I don't want to go through the details of entry requirements, but there's a kind of range spectrum of entry requirements that we expect you to have ABB or AAB range of A levels or equivalent. And it's of course important that you must have maths in the A levels. And what I want to say about this is don't be too frightened perhaps by these entry requirements. You know, perhaps this is not necessarily something you would expect, or perhaps you maybe are comfortable with this, but it's worth to remember that these things are guidelines with regards to the fact that we want to make sure that when you come here, you are equipped to be able to study this, because maths is a hard subject. Okay, there's no brushing that under the carpet. Mathematics is hard, but what we aim to do is to try and make it more simple for you. Okay, so mathematics is fundamentally something many people struggle with. Even those who have found it easy at school can come to university and find it difficult, which is why it's very important to have that solid foundation. And also that's why we recognise it's important to support you. So with all of that said, let me just summarise before I stop speaking and hand over to my student. So why should you apply to Leicester Mathematics? We are very top ranked. We're one of the top ranked universities for mathematics in the country. We have excellent employability to the point where we are actually the #1 for employability jointly with another university for employability in maths. We have active student societies. We have an excellent support system through personal tutoring and in how we transition from school to university and university to career. There are many options available to you, highly flexible modular pathways so that you can really build your degree to your personal preferences. We also have the MMath options, and I think this is a really valuable thing to have. But we can offer this because we have such a large faculty and enough resources to be able to offer these things. In particular, we're the only one offering this many actuarial exemptions at undergraduate level in the world. There are industry and abroad year-out options to broaden your horizons, lots of variety of projects and different things that you can get involved in. And in bottom line as well is that our degrees are rigorous. It's a proper maths degree. It's led by research in mathematics, but it's also led by our practice. And many of us have teaching qualifications. Many of us have also worked in the industry that we are teaching you about. So that's some information about who the admissions tutors are. If you want to get in touch, you can get in touch with us via our Instagram, or you can go and talk to academics and students online. But that is really all from me at this point. We will have some questions in a bit, but now I'm going to hand over to my student. Unfortunately, one of our students couldn't be here today, so the slides were written by him, but I'm going to hand over to my student Taryn, who will hopefully be able to use the slides to help him to talk about his experience and testimony of being a student here. So go ahead, Taryn.
So hi, I am Tarun, and I am in my final year studying maths and actuarial science. Why maths, if you ask me? Because I love maths. It's been from school I've used the opportunity to study, and it never makes me feel sad. And I'm interested to solve the problems and stuff. But more towards that, I like the applied bits of maths, and hence I have chosen the actuarial science part of the maths as well. But what is actuarial science? In a single sentence, I would say it's just a field where I've used my advanced mathematical skills and stats to assess the probability of financial impacts. Primarily focus on the risk management of insurance companies, basically, but it is more to that. There are skills which involves finding the probability of having accidents or how to find the premiums. These are few things which I've learned in the university, and something which I really loved doing it. So I want to start by saying about both first academic and then social life, which I've experienced in the last 2 years since it's my final year. In my academics point of view, I have used my lectures. In the first year, when it was a bit tough for me to come to university point of view, where there were so many mathematical equations, a lot of things which I was scared of, or maybe intimidated. I thought I used these feedback sessions we had every week, and I believe that really pushed me more. I tried to understand what I wanted to do and how I was able to get back on track, understand the basic concepts, have the foundations, get sorted, and go with it. Since I'm doing actuarial science, in my second year onwards, it starts splitting up, and a lot of maths modules which were in the first years, are needed but become so much practical, and a lot of stats and probability were involved. Again, I used my lecturers. I went to their open office hours and understood my doubts. They were really great. There are a number of times I've asked the same questions again, just so that I can understand the concept, so that I can apply it in the exams or in the real life situations. But I believe the patience of the lectures is the reason why I'm still at this stage right now. And I feel the times when I have enjoyed myself are those times when I was able to do those problems, the tough problems, and I was happy that I could do it on my own. But with the academic life which I have, I also enjoy my social life. I can't lie. There were times when in the second year when we had a STEM bar crawl, which were conducted by the STEM societies, for the example, the LAS and the Math Society and many more other STEM society grouped together. I was able to find a lot of new friends, or maybe a lot of friends in that matter, who understood what I was going through, or how I was at that stage. There are few friends who I found in that period who are still my best friends now, who are basically my best friends now, or there are friends who me and them are working on some projects because having same interest, and so many things I've gone through. I believe those social events which I passed on the student in the first 2 years is helping me in the final year as well, because when I feel that I need some help or understanding some concept which I could ask my friends directly, those groups have helped me to get more access to children, or helped me to access what I needed or how I needed it. I believe that in the 2 years and the third year which I'm having through, I've experienced a lot of things, and I believe choosing maths with my actual science is my best things, because even the lecturers who, with like Josh told before, I've industry experience. This has led to me to understand more what I want to, or they have helped me to guide through what I wanted in. I've had personal tutors as one of my lecturers who me and her talk on a monthly basis, or try to understand what I want or how I want to pursue them. I believe these few things have really polished me, and I'm really grateful for that.
Okay, thanks, Taryn. I think now we're going to move on to the Q&A, right?
Yes, thank you both so much for your presentations. If anybody who's attending does have any questions, please do pop them in the chat for us and we'll get those answered. We haven't had any through yet, but I will ask some questions. So if I could ask Josh first to start off with, can you give anyone who might be on the call some advice on what they could get involved with prior to applying to university that might strengthen their application?
Sure. So there are many things that can strengthen your application. One of the most important things, of course, is that you are academically taking the right sorts of things. So you're taking academic subjects, but also doing things like extended projects as well is always a good idea with this, if you can, if it's available to you. One other thing that's useful is just having a range of things that you're involved in. So not just being a student, but taking on some sort of leadership role or some sort of activity that involves, giving you new other transferable skills. For example, it could be anything. You could be involved in theatre, you could be involved in sports, something that is allowing you to show that you are a rounded individual. But these qualities are not just good for your application, but they're good things that you should develop in order to succeed in life and succeed at university.
Great, thank you, Josh. Taryn, a question for you. So could you tell us what a typical day might look like for a student? So now at the moment for you as a third year student, but then also kind of a comparison to what your studies might have been like when you were a first year.
Yeah, so basically in my third years, I feel it's more on the projects, like Josh mentioned before. I have a good set of number of projects which I'm working on right now because of the aspect of actual science and maths both combined. And compared to my first year, I feel it was more a lot of lectures, getting my foundations, getting my basic maths. There was involvement of stats, calculus, linear algebra, and all those aspects. Whereas in my final year right now, it's basically how I'm using those modules. If you have in the slides, as is shown before, there's a module as financial engineering right now. It is as tough as all those four modules combined, but it has more time. It's the time the aspect of studying for that module is much more free than the aspect of studying my first year, because in the time in the first year was very little for me, whereas compared to my third year where I'm working more on projects, I feel that I have got enough time to study and also work on my project. But typically I feel like third year is much more easier than second year, and it is still a lot of work we're doing right now with the projects, a lot of meetings, a lot of collaboration with people, and it is a different experience overall because the first year is on your own and the third year is combining with a lot of different people.
Great, thank you. One maybe for both of you actually, so we'll go to Josh first. So could you tell us how studying at university might be different to studying at school?
Yes, so I mentioned this very briefly in terms of the style of learning, but it's also worth pointing out the style of mathematics. So at school, a lot of math that you learn is very much how to solve particular problems that you're probably going to experience on an exam. So for example, how to expand this particular algebraic expression, how to solve this particular equation, etc. And some people think that's it's a very nice thing to learn how to calculate particular things and solve these algorithms. And we still expect you to learn particular methodology when you come to university, but it goes deeper to the point of it's less about how to do things, but it's why does this work? When does it not work? And what do these things even mean? And one of the major things that's the difference is mathematical proof. So a lot of students find proof hard, and that's because partly the reason is that proof is quite non-prescriptive. You have to somehow be creative, you have to think through the problem. It's much more about learning how to problem solve. So that's one of the biggest differences from a point of view of studying at school than university when it comes to mathematics, other than the things I already mentioned with regards to the style. Maybe Tarun can say a bit more.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that. I feel like the proofs in schools were fine in the beginning, but the proofs of schools were completely fine. I was able to understand them. I was able to do it for the exams in the school. But when it came to university, in the beginning, there were times when I struggled a bit, and I was not, maybe not because I'm not able to understand the aspect of what I really wanted, or it was maybe further than my understanding. But I think the idea in the basic maths, which I had in my first year, there were a lot of I had involved myself a lot in that time because I needed to understand the basic proof in the calculus bit or the linear algebra bit, and I feel like understanding those proofs would give me much more idea of what I wanted. I'm a person who loves doing applied bit rather than the proof bit. I was fine with my stats and probability side, but whereas it came to calculus, where there were immense number of proofs, which I struggled, and I feel compared to school where there was just problems, where university is more proofs, I feel that is a big difference. But once you get hold of it, it was completely fine for me.
Great, thank you both. We haven't had any more questions come in, so I think we'll leave it there. Josh, is there anything you wanted to just add before we finish?
I can't think of anything that I have not said already. Perhaps, yeah, just one piece of advice as well is this point that is made about, make sure you know what you're signing up for. So many people sign up to do mathematics because they're good at it, or kind of think, oh, I'm good at maths, so that's a subject I should do. And that's a good enough reason, but actually, as who we've mentioned, there's going to be a point with any subject where you struggle. Okay, and even if you've been good at maths and always got everything immediately, there will almost certainly be a point where you find something that you cannot understand or you cannot do. And if your only motivation is because you were good at it, then you will struggle because that is something that you come across. So, okay, that's relatively negative. So what's the positive? Choose something you love. Choose something you enjoy, right? The reason you should pick maths fundamentally is because you enjoy it.
Great, thank you, Josh. So on that note, we'll finish. So thank you everyone for joining. There's a link in the chat, so if anybody wants any follow-up information, then please do have a look at our course pages, and hope everyone has a really good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, bye-bye.